Hey, everybody, welcome to another episode of Rooted Podcast. First things first, as you know, Ben's going to start us off right, and then we're going to get into a big old 6-point that hit the ground. We had a client steer that hit the dirt also during the same weekend. We're going to tell you all about it. We're going to talk about how to keep your property up and going, persevering through the deer season, and, kind of staying at it, putting the nose to the grindstone. But like I said earlier, as always, Ben, start us out right, my friend.
All right, folks, we're going to be in Jeremiah 16, verse 16. I will soon send for many fishermen to come to this land. This message is from the Lord. They will catch the people of Judah. After that happens, I will send for many hunters to come into this land. That is it, folks. Listen, I'm showing you all the places that the word hunting is used in the Bible. Jeremiah 16:16 is a good place for that. It's in Genesis. It's in a pile of different locations all throughout the Bible. We are hunters, fishermen, and we love to eat what we catch. That is why we do it, and to enjoy God's creation, and it goes back to being good stewards of the land and what we were given by God in the first place. So, John, that's what I've got for that this fine day here. And folks, I apologize. My voice is a little off. Me and John both, oddly enough, we live 3 hours apart and get sick at the same time every year.
Yeah,
Never fails. Never fails. Always get sick at the exact same time.
Oh, dude, there was this time in Georgia. You guys can go back on YouTube and go to the Rooted Television page and watch it. It's the Georgia Buck episode. We were sick as crap, coughing, sneezing, everything else in the stand. Them little red sepacals, buddy. We were taking them like they were Twinkies or something.
Yeah, I wore out them sepacals.
Oh my goodness! But anyway, if you go back and look at that and hear Ben's interview, he is sick, golly bump.
Yeah, it sounded like I'd had a old Marlboro Red hanging out of my mouth for 90 years. But, that's just part of it, man.
That's
you
it,
have
man.
that. You just got to keep on grinding, man. Stay in the stand and keep on going.
That's it.
You know?
So, man, during your verse there, you were talking about, kind of about the land that we get to hunt and, taking care of it and everything else. And I feel like, and I'm going to let you tell the story, of course, but that big 6 that you took, I feel like that's a big part of taking care of your land. And he may not have been the quote unquote biggest deer, but he was a bully deer, and doing all the things that you have done on that farm helped you tag that deer. And for all the people at home that obviously don't know, kind of tell us the story, the backstory of the deer itself, and then obviously let's deep dive into the hunt and what all happened and how it all went down.
So I've been watching that deer for a few years now and hoping that, he would get bigger and get bigger and get bigger. And that dude has stayed at a 7-point the entirety of his life. He's never changed. I mean, he may have gotten a couple inches bigger, but that's about it. For the most part, he's stayed, pretty well a smaller rack. But I saw him back earlier this year in bow season coming into the Field of Dreams, which is a field that I wrapped in corn and I put brassicas, turnips, daikon radishes, a little bit of oats and some wheat in there. And the way that field lays out, there's a logging road in front of it. And where you're sitting in the blind, you can watch that logging road. So the reason I put this field right here, not only was it already cut out as an ag field, but it's perfectly positioned in between two intersecting saddles on a ridge. Those ridges come down and meet right there, and they go up right to a saddle on both sides. So, and they're all old logging roads. They all intersect right there, which is why I faced the blind the way I did. So about 3 weeks ago, I saw this deer come bebopping across the logging road. He's following it all the way down. I thought, I have seen you before, but as far as he was and as fast as he was moving, I couldn't ever really get a solid look at him. I knew the antlers looked right, but I was like, man, something is off about this dude's body. Something's weird because he's usually not as thin as he was when I shot him. He's usually pretty thick, pretty dense.
Gotcha.
But man, so we go in, we have clients hunt. He hunts, kills a buck. Second morning he's there. His uncle misses one that same afternoon in the same stand. The next afternoon, I go in and hunt that stand, and after everybody's left, and I see him. But this time he's chasing a doe up the side of the ridge. And I thought, well, shoot, maybe he'll come on out. But he didn't. And I was watching a bunch of little young bucks and watching them spar and, kind of, like you say, pitter patter and get at her. Just kind of, pushing each other around in the field. That hunt ended. And I decided, all right, I'm going to stay and I'm going to hunt one more day, one more afternoon to see if one of them big old gnarly bucks is going to come out. I did. And I went out 2:00. It wasn't supposed to rain. There's like a 30% chance. I thought, oh, I'm good. Well, here comes the downpour. I was like, fantastic. Sitting in the blind, you know how it is, the wind blowing, all the camera gear's getting wet, everything's getting wet. I'm thinking, man, where did this come from? Like it was just a small little dot on the map showing this rain. Yeah, small little radar dot. But anyway, it flooded and it would stop. It flooded, then it would stop. Back and forth, back and forth. And the deer did not care. There was two little fawns that I have watched all year long. I say they're fawns, they're yearlings, but they're twins. So I watched them with their mama all the way through bow season, before bow season, and now mama has kicked them out and they're running together, just them two. And now, it was pretty interesting while I was sitting there. They came out first, and then Mama came out about 30 minutes later on the far end of the field, so they were not together. And because you know how big that field is, it's a pretty large field. But she finally made her way over and checked on them, and then went about her own business elsewhere in the field. So it's pretty wild how she's just like, nope, banished you, get out of my house, But that's how deer do. So nonetheless, they came out. I watched them. I'm watching this little 6-point that has half his rack. I've been watching that rascal for a few weeks now with half a rack. And it's like every time I get a buck picture, I'm almost willing to say, okay, there's a 50-50 chance that it's going to be my half rack 6. If I was a betting man, I'd probably go with the half rack 6.
Yeah.
Anyway, so he comes out the same way that buck was going across the ridge the day before. Sorry. So he comes out, except this time he's coming across the ridge instead of up and around. He comes out perfect right in the field. And I'm watching him with my binoculars, and I'll film him for a little while and watching the does at the other end of the field. And then everybody starts getting real nervous. What in the world? My wind is going. It's a south wind that day. So I was like, man, there ain't no way them deer smell me because they're on the north side of the field. So they're on the south side of the field. So there is no way those deer are smelling me right now because my wind is blowing totally away. And I only had 2 windows open in that blind, which now granted, that's not fail proof by any means. And you are going to have scent get out of those blinds, but
it helps a little bit.
It does help a little bit.
Yeah.
So anyway, they start getting nervous, and I thought, uh-oh, here comes Big Daddy. No, it was another 8-point that was like 3-year-old. I was like, sweet, it's still seeing deer, it's great. And then I noticed some movement over in the south, let's see, it would be the southeast corner of the field, just like some tail flickering or whatever. So I pull up my binoculars, and I see a pretty nice buck. I mean, he's pretty solid. He's acting weird. And so I just kind of pan over to my right because he kept looking over his shoulder, like to the right where the old home site is. So I pan over that way with my binoculars, and here comes a doe blistering it out of those bushes. I was like, baby, here we go. And here comes Mr. Jolly 7-point. I was like, sweet. And I thought, well, I don't know if he's the one I want to shoot yet or not, so I'm just going to watch him for a little while and see what he does. As soon as that dude hit the field, all the other bucks in the field parted like the Red Sea to get away from him. Like stayed as far away from him as possible. Yes. Every one of them. Even that buck that I saw at the southwest corner or southeast corner just darted right back into the woods, like did not come out into the field.
Wow.
And there were deer out there that had better racks than him, all that, but nobody wanted to mess with him. Like he'd just run up and headbutt him right in the rear end. I was like, dang, man, you are a bully. I was like, well, you look a little thin, too. I know you've been running does, but you look a little too thin. Like, even for that. I mean, because these other bucks were running does, too, and they didn't look as thin as him. I mean, dude, I could see his spine. I could see his ribs. I mean, it was like, man, there's something ain't right here. Well, what I did not know at the time is he had a massive tumor on his rib
Really?
cage. Yeah, huge, dude. It's massive, massive tumor. I just noticed it today, actually, rewatching the footage. I
Mm.
had no idea that the deer had a tumor. Tumor, sorry. But yeah, he had a tumor, so I
Wow.
watched him for about 20 minutes, and I was like, yeah, I think it's time. It's time to take this old boy to Beulah land, and I'm gonna take him to the processor, and we're gonna get some victuals out of this rascal. And man, golly bum, so he was walking down the road, on the other side of the corn, on the east side of the corn. And I thought, well, when he stops, I'm gonna shoot, because I was ready for it. Well, he kind of paused and turned, and I didn't see him turn. I just saw the pause. Well, he was in the process of turning when I said "Payowie," and luckily though, when he turned, it caught him at the last rib, in between the first and the last rib right there, and ended up over here on this front shoulder. So we ended up making a great shot. He ended up, going about, I don't know, 20, 30 yards at best. I walked past him 10 times
Oh, good.
because, my headlamp I had was no better than my cell phone light. The crazy part is I actually walked that way and I looked and I was like, that's just one of them logs with the dang fungus growing on it. White. Oh, it was him. I mean, I literally walked past him like 10 times. Ridiculous. I ended up going to Walmart and I bought a Cyclops handheld high beam gonna finder
Oh my God.
spotlight.
Well, you got a good light now.
I do have a good light now. And the thing is, with all that rain, there was absolutely zero blood. None whatsoever. Not a drop. And
Love
one
that.
thing to add about this whole experience, while I was pulling my truck up to where I was going to go and look again, there were two bucks fighting out in the field of dreams. Like I'm telling you, I drove my F-250 diesel all the way up in there, headlights blaring, music jamming. Get out, shut the door, not trying to be quiet, turn my light on, and start tearing through the woods and listening to them rascals fight the entire time. Find the deer, and that dude, I'm telling you, them bucks fought the entire time, dude. I drug the deer to the truck, loaded him in the truck. They're still fighting. Shut the tailgate. They're still fighting because I had my windows down so I could hear them. I thought, man, this is something else right here. Something else. It's crazy.
Well, it just goes to show you whenever deer are in a certain mood, they don't care what's going on. They just, do whatever they want, wherever they want. It's like they just have tunnel vision, They just don't care what's going on other than
Yeah,
right here.
no, that's exactly right, man. They don't care. They don't really think about it a whole lot. But hey, that just goes to show you that what we're building here at the ranch is turning out to be pretty stellar.
Yeah. Well, and it's a big testament of just also knowing, we talk about all these stories of going in there and hunting, but we do a pretty good job of not going in there whenever we don't need to and keeping it quiet, which is why they feel safe, which is another reason why they just start piling in there.
Well, yeah, and it's like this week, we just came off of Thanksgiving and we're not even hunting that farm at all. Nobody's going down there this whole week. We're just leaving it silent the whole time. Nobody's going to mess with it. It's getting a rest week and just, to do the deal. And hopefully, by next week, we can go back down there and try to kill a buck.
Exactly. And that, we are sure going to try. I mean,
Yeah.
that's all we can do. But Now look, you want to talk about trying to kill a buck? My wife's uncle.
Mm-hmm.
He has decided that he only wants to shoot a buck. He's never killed a deer. He's 50 something. I'm like, all right, hey, look, if you don't want to kill a doe, that's fine and dandy.
Mm-hmm.
I'm like, fine. Well, I think he's starting to realize finding a buckaroo's harder than it seems to be whenever you're searching on Instagram and Facebook all day and see people holding bucks all the time. Like, yeah, it ain't that
Yeah.
easy, buddy.
No, it's not. You got to put that honey in that stand for days. I
Yep.
mean, how many days have we hunted the ranch before you saw that shooter buck and
Yeah.
muzzleloader, and then I
Long time.
saw the one that I killed? I had one opportunity in Velvet, and then one opportunity the other day, and that was it. Those were my two opportunities at the ranch.
Yeah. I mean, I was actually telling K Dog. So I'll tell you, I'll I'll tell you that story here in just a minute. K Dog got his first deer in over 30 something years, but I was telling him, you know, kind of the same thing. I was like, look, dude, Ben and I, there was a time where we went 30 days without seeing a deer. And I'm not talking like, oh, we saw some does. Oh, we scared one away and saw its rear end, Like, no, dude, we didn't see a deer for like a month. And so sometimes you just got to get after it, man. It happens like that every once in a while,
Mm-hmm.
you know? And I don't think it has anything to do with, like, I don't, I mean, we're obviously pretty decent hunters, I would reckon.
Yeah, yeah.
Sometimes the deer they just don't show up. It happens. So, but anyway, so Kevin, okay, dog here.
Okay, dog.
He was so excited, dude. So excited. He ain't been hunting since he was like before, not even a teenager with his dad. And so he was fired up, man. And he said, "I want to shoot the first thing that walks in." I was like, "All right, dude. Whatever.
Get
Let's
it,
go. Come
rip
on."
it.
So we're sitting there. We get in, bright and early. Not bright and early. Anyway, here comes about I think it was like 6:45 or so, and dude, like 100 yards away, here pops out this spike, and I said, "Kevin, I see a deer." Dude, that's all I said. I was like, "Kevin, deer." He puts his gun up. He's like, "Where's it at?" I said, "Well, you may want to point it at the deer and figure out where it is before you start pointing that thing." I said, "But anyway," I said, "Look, it's right there, dude." He was walking very, very quickly. He wasn't trotting, but he was kind of getting it.
Mm-hmm.
And so anyway, I was like, "Kevin, do you want me to stop him?" He's like, "Yeah, yeah, yeah." So anyway, I just he finally stopped. Poor Kevin. Boom! Nothing. That deer's just standing there. I said, and he's kind of. I could see Kevin kind of being like, "What the heck just happened?" I said, "Kevin, shoot again." Nothing. The deer's just standing there. I'm like, "Dude, calm down and hit this deer, man." He finally he shot that third time. That thing mule kicked. I was like, "Oh yeah, you got him. You got him."
Mm-hmm.
And then he was so excited. He's like, "Well, let's go get it." I said, "Kevin, it's been half a second since you shot. You got to give it a minute, man." He was fired up. The same way we waited about 5-10 minutes, and I said, "Well, let's walk to where you shot it, and if we can see it from there, then I'll walk in the woods." We go up
Yeah.
and ain't but 30 yards right there. I see it clear as day. So he
Nice.
drilled that thing, and I didn't go far at all. He was so excited, man. The best part about it is I didn't realize it was a buck until we got up on it. So that was super cool, dude. He was so excited, so grateful, and man, whenever you can reintroduce somebody into hunting, it's such a magical feeling, really, because they're like, "Yeah, I mean, I kind of went." 30 years ago, but it's been so long and yada yada. And then you kind of light that fire again. Man, they're buying hunting gear and licenses and going out. And then he's so excited to make a meal with the deer. He keeps saying, "I want deer sketty. I want deer
There you
sketty."
go.
I
Deer
said,
skitty,
"Kevin,
babe.
by golly, we'll make it for you, pal."
Oh
So
yeah.
he loves it. He loves it.
Man, that's awesome. I'm so glad to hear that you were able to do that for him and get him into an experience where he could rejuvenate that
Exactly.
passion for hunting after all these years. So, dude, kudos to you for doing that. And man, that's awesome.
Yeah,
Absolutely awesome, dude.
he is fired up. He's always asking, well, can I go with you next weekend? When are we going next?
That's
I'm
awesome,
like,
dude.
hey man, come on, let's go. So
That's awesome.
anyway, man, we did that, dude.
Yo.
I totally forgot to even tell you about this. This is not hunting related, but it's fishing related.
Oh, yeah.
My mom and dad met my aunt and uncle in Cabo. Okay. So
Mm-hmm.
Thanksgiving Day, my parents are on a jet to Cabo. I'm like, all right, see you later. Sounds great. So my mother catches 100 some odd pound marlin, and I mean, dude, there's this picture of, and you've obviously have seen my mother. She's 5 foot nothing. You know, wiry, feisty thing. Now you better watch out, Miss
Mm-hmm.
Denise will get you if you ain't careful.
She will. Miss Denise will get after you.
But buddy, she's holding this big old freaking marlin. It was so funny, and then they're getting it mounted. It's the best thing in the world.
So, funny story. I actually knew about that.
Oh, you did?
Your dad sent me a picture.
That's hilarious. I was like, man, I forgot to tell you about this. That's cool.
Yeah,
See,
no. Mr. James then sent me a
okay,
picture, and I was like,
good.
hey, yeah,
Okay,
that's
good.
what I'm talking about.
That's
So,
hilarious.
see, man, even though you forgot, your dad was right there on cue,
See,
man. I tell
he
you,
got it,
oh man, he does. I tell you, he has been a sure enough blessing in my life. I am sure glad to know him.
buddy.
I'll tell you that.
He's like a redneck MacGyver, dude. That's the best way to explain him.
Mm-hmm. Well, he
Yeah,
is. Why don't you tell the world how he set up his gun so he could shoot it from his left eye?
yeah, man. He's got a rig. So he had a stroke in his right eye and he went blind. Yada yada. So to his credit, he's in good spirits, and he does not want to learn how to shoot left-handed because his shoulder would hurt. He's like, I'm too old, I'm too cranky, I don't want to do it. All right, fair enough, you old man. Whatever. So he's trying to find a rig that'll do it, and there's nothing out there. And he's tried offset rings and all these things, and it just didn't work. So he got a metal plate, like a square metal plate, drilled holes through it, put it on his scope ring, drilled holes on the other side, put the scope. So he literally put like the edge of the plate on the on the scope mount, and then had it hung, kind of hanging over, you know, 3 to 6 inches to the left, and drilled holes, and then put his scope rings on that. It's the most redneck rig ever, and he holds it like normal, but his scope's over his left eye. And
Mm.
he shot a deer. He shot a
Yeah, he
little old
did.
5 point with it. It did
He
work.
did.
But
Hey, man.
I'm like, dude, it don't even fit in his case hardly. It's so cockeyed and oh my god. I'm like,
Hey, you
only
know
you,
what,
man.
dude? You know what though? Adapt and overcome, man. It's like he had a
Oh yeah.
problem, he came up with it, and he fixed it right there in the yard. And he probably walked right back to that shooting range that he put how many cross ties? 500 back there or something like that.
Oh my gosh, man. That and dude, he went to the local tire shop and said, you boys got any tires I could have so I could
Yeah,
put behind my thing? They're like,
yeah,
I mean, yeah, I guess here. Dude, he's got like 50 tires, 100 freaking
nice.
road ties, couple pieces of or good like sheet metal slanted. It's hilarious, dude.
Oh man, that is
It's pretty
hilarious.
good though, honestly.
Hey, look, if you have a problem, just go ask John's dad. He probably either knows how to fix it or can fix it in some capacity.
Yeah. Now look, it may just be a band-aid, but it'll work for a moment.
Yeah, it'll get the job done. Then you can figure out how to do it better later.
Exactly. Oh yeah, man. It's always something, dude. Like his project at oh dude, this is crazy. So his project right now
Mm-hmm.
is whenever we're at the turkey show in November. I'm sorry, February.
February.
Lordy B, I'm all sorts of messed up. When we're at the turkey show in February,
Mm-hmm.
he so look, paying for electric at these events, and it's not just the one here, it's all of them. It's ridiculously priced. It's way too much money. I ain't doing it. I don't care how much money I have. I ain't paying it. We'll figure out a way. So like the last year we had some battery packs and and then we rigged up to where you could just hook it to a battery to run our
Mm-hmm.
TV. But this year he's thinking he has this little generator, electric generator, and he's gonna somehow rig it to where it doesn't need to be plugged up. He said he's gonna have like this wheel sort of thing on it. And he said if I get an impact driver and spin that wheel fast enough, it'll just turn it quick enough to make enough outage to where it'll run everything we need it to run. He said, so all I need to all I need to get's the impact. It just and it'll start it up. And then he's
Oh
sitting
my
there
gosh.
talking. He's sitting there talking with my brother about this, and my brother,
Mm-hmm.
he's a mechanic by trade in the Air Force, and he's
Mm-hmm.
just as wacky as my dad when it comes to that kind
Yep.
of stuff. And they're talking. My dad's like, "Well, how are we going to turn it off when it gets going?" And my brother's like, "We'll just put in a light switch in between it, so every time you need to turn it off, just hit the light switch, and it'll cut the power off."
There you
So,
go.
so they're going to have a rig. No, there's no doubt about it. And I'm sure I'm going to have a conversation with someone from the shows who's like,
Yeah.
"Dude, what is this?" I'm like, "Hey, man, hey, I'm just running power, brother. I ain't hurting nobody."
It doesn't say in the rules anywhere that we cannot use electric generators.
Exactly.
It
So
doesn't say that.
anyway, I just thought it was funny. He's always
Yeah.
trying to figure up something, man. You just never
Mm.
know with him. Like, dude, I'll tell you, I got 100 freaking stories. So whenever they flew Southwest, and I guess with Southwest you get 2 free bags or a free
Mm.
bag, and the other one's cheap. Well, whatever. Anyway, he said, "Well, I can check in a cooler as a bag." I said, "Well, yeah, Dad, yeah, you can,
Yeah, you could.
He said, "Well, all I'm going to do is have a carry on and a personal item. That way, whenever I come back, I just check my bags as my coolers because I don't want to pay extra for that." So he stuffed all of his stuff in a backpack and another little personal item. That way, so he's got 2 coolers worth of fish that he tagged or that he brought back as his bag, so he would save money. I'm
Well,
like,
that's
dude,
hilarious.
you just flew to Cabo. You can't pay the extra $100 for the bag.
Yeah, no doubt.
He's like, "Nope, ain't doing it."
Nope, I ain't doing it. I'm
I'm like,
taking a backpack,
yeah.
and that's it. Get over it.
I was like, "Well, all right, man, whatever."
Yeah, whatever. Whatever floats your boat on that rig.
Yeah, dude. There are some stuff, and I'm sure we're all like this. You will spend money on some things and just won't on the other.
Oh, I'm the same way.
Yeah, you're like, dude, I can't buy this, and then something else comes along. You're like, "I'll give you all my money I got. Here you go."
Yeah, take it all. Take all my money. Put it in the trash. I don't care. I don't care what you do with it. I just need that.
Yeah, no
You
doubt.
know? Yeah, but dude, I tell you, it was hilarious last year. All of us, running around trying to figure out how we're going to power a TV and a
Oh my god.
computer. And your dad's like, well, I'm going to do this. I was like, all right, sweet.
Yeah. All right.
And
Cool.
by golly, here we come.
It'll work.
Jimmy wheels around the corner with a dolly with batteries on it, all rigged together. And I was like, that's out of my wheelhouse, so I'm gonna let y'all do it
Yeah. Exactly. I'm
because
like,
I don't
yeah.
know nothing about that life, man. Nothing.
No, dude. When it comes to electrical, whether it's house, car, or that, I'm like, nope, I'm good.
Out of my
I'll,
wheelhouse,
I'll
homie.
pay somebody to do that.
Same here. Electrical, I ain't messing with. That is not my forte.
No.
Now you want to talk about planting some food plots? Now I'll talk with you about that. I'll do that.
Yeah. I tell you what else is our forte is tracking deer.
Yeah, dude.
Dude, you want to
Yeah.
talk about? We don't have to get into specifics. I'll
Yeah.
let you talk about whatever you want here. But on that client's buck, there was a little bit that happened. Again, I
Mm-hmm.
won't say too much, but the bottom line is he told us it went right. We didn't notice at the time, but it went left. And I'll kind of tell you how we got there without telling you all the crazy details. So, bottom line, dude shoots, and then he sees his deer go to the right. Well, he thinks it's his deer. So, first things first, we kind of said this earlier. Don't go chase the deer right after you shoot.
Mm-hmm.
That's a bad idea. At least give it,
An hour.
I mean, yes, you definitely should. I mean, if you know that you hit that deer, or you even better, you saw it fall,
Yeah.
okay.
Yeah.
I'm cool with going to the spot, kind of like I did with Kevin. All right, man, let's give this 10, 15 minutes. We
Mm-hmm.
walked to the spot where he shot and then looked for blood, looked for the deer, whatever. So, but just getting out and going, and you don't even know where the heck you're going, and you're just that's a bad idea. You're going to bump that deer.
Mm-hmm.
So anyway, that happened, and we hear the story. All right, the deer veered off this way. Long story short, me and Ben are walking for hours, just aimlessly, really,
Yeah.
looking
Yeah.
for
Yeah.
any little thing. And finally, I told Ben, like, dude, we're just walking in the dark here. And we put our heads together and figured out, okay, if you're a deer and you get hurt, where do you want to go? You want to go home. You want to go somewhere that's safe. And I asked, okay, I'm like, all right, where is that? He said, well, it ain't to the right. It's on the opposite side. I said, well, that contraries to his story. I said, but what do we got to lose? We've already wasted 2 hours. Let's just go that way. So Ben tells me, he said, well, the other side of this creek is this little field. He said, I'm just going to look. You drive the side by side up to the entrance, is up just a little ways, and then come back and meet me. All right, cool, whatever. By the time I get there, Ben's already found the deer. It wasn't about 40 yards, right on in there. So, I mean, we found some blood, and then of course he crossed the creek, so that kind of washed it up a little bit, and then but that just goes to show you, it's like, man, whenever you shoot, not only do you need to sit there, but if you need to try your best to pay attention to that deer, where and
Yeah.
when.
And I understand that emotions run high. You get
Absolutely.
really excited. Trust me, I pull a muscle every time in my back when I kill a deer. Every time. I get so excited. But listen, you have to watch how that deer leaves the field, which way he's heading, because 9 times out of 10, if you watch where he enters the woods, at some point between the point of impact and the general direction he's going,
Mm-hmm.
you will find a speck of blood somewhere, typically. And see, if we would have went to the left, we would have found blood immediately, because I started finding it right there at the edge of the woods, went down into the creek, went across the creek, and followed it all the way up, popped up the other side, and I was like, oh, well, there's his dang deer right there. Didn't go less than 100 yards from where he shot him. He did not go far. So, that's just one of the things you got to keep in mind is pay very close attention to where you shot the deer, which way it left, and
Mm-hmm.
where it entered the woods. Now, are you going to be 100% pinpoint exact? No. But you can at least know, hey, this deer did for sure go to the left and not to the
Yeah.
right. Because me and John walked that whole entire logging road
Oh man.
all the way up and down and around, and I thought, man, this dude is Houdini us. He's like
Yeah.
dipped out of there, and somehow in the process, I lost my mic for the camera. It fell off my shirt. Found it the next morning, or actually the next afternoon. Excuse me. It was right in the middle of the road. I ran over it with a side by side. So good luck there. Yeah, good job, me. Way to go. And then it was just, but it was fun, man. I enjoyed it. I always enjoy those guys when they come to camp, and they're just great dudes, man. Just absolutely great dudes. And I really, really feel bad for his uncle. I really wish he could have killed that deer, because I know what deer that is. And he is a sure enough monster.
That
And
sucks, man.
hey, we've all been there.
Oh, we've all missed deer.
We have all missed deer. It's part of the game, man. If you ain't missing deer, you ain't shooting at them. You
Yeah,
know?
these people who say, "Man, I ain't never missed." Well, you ain't shot at enough of them, buddy. I mean,
Yeah.
I'm not saying you need to miss all the time. Obviously, I'm just saying it happens, dude. Your gun, your bow, whatever, could be sighted in perfect. One
Yeah.
little mishap on your part, or the deer turns, or this happens, that happens.
Yeah.
It's just life. It
Well,
happens,
I mean, man, if that deer would have turned any further when I shot, I would have missed.
Yeah,
I mean, because I had no clue he was turning, because I wasn't paying attention to that. I saw them crosshairs right behind that shoulder, and I pulled off. And luckily, he just turned right into it. But I mean, I could have very easily missed that
yeah.
deer. very easily.
Sure.
So,
Sure.
it happens. It happens to all of us. It's part of it. You just have to dust your boots off and get back on that horse and keep riding it.
That's it, buddy. That's really all you can do is just keep on keeping on, nose to the
Hmm.
grindstone, and it
Yep.
is what it is. And, you know, as I say, pitter patter and get at it.
Pitter patter, get at her. Well, John, we've had one heck of a week, so
Yeah.
I'm excited. It's been a fun week. Let's kid after them deer again. I don't have anything else if you don't. So
No, man, not really. Just I hope everyone goes and gets at it. If we're getting into that
yeah.
time of year, of course, it's Christmas time. I'm sure y'all see the Christmas tree behind me and the lights, and
Oh yeah.
I'm over here because, like I said before, my daughter's room is being built right where my podcast studio was. So I got kicked out so my daughter could have a room whenever she decides to
Hmm.
make her visit. So
Yep.
and once that is done and the contractor's out of here and he has all his tools out, I will be back and have me a cool little background. But for the moment, hey, I got Christmas time. I don't know if y'all could see it or not. Probably not. But maybe just a little bit. Right, yeah, somewhere right in there. That's a big old 10 point I shot last year. But so
Oh
hey,
yeah.
there, this is kind of the setup I got. It's all good. It all works. But anyway, where I was going with that was it's getting this time of year, cold, post rut, and we'll have an episode about this, at least a part of it where we deep dive more. But I would if you have green fields, I'd start thinking about hunting those, man. I really would. They're still hitting ridges and trails in the woods, and they always will. But you know, really that late morning and the afternoons, if you have green food, I would hunt over it, man.
Well, I agree 110% because they're going to try to rebuild their storage and what they run down over the whole entire rut here because
Hmm.
hey, it's getting cold and they've got to survive it. So they know that and they're going to refill those fat storages and get back to what they were so they can make it through the winter.
That's
But
right.
like John said, start looking at your food plots. Maybe a good time to start segueing into them. You don't have to just be like
Exactly.
me and just dive into a food plot head first and not ever leave there. But, when I see a big buck in a place, I'm going to sit there for a minute. I
I
just am.
heard that,
I
buddy.
ride a spot out, buddy, as long as I possibly can. I just do.
Yep. There's
I
nothing
mean,
wrong with that.
when they start daylighting in there, I know that I need to be in there and I need to hunt in there. And, you know,
Well, look, it's kind of like this. Whenever you have gobbling turkeys, there's an old saying: you don't leave turkeys to find more turkeys. So, it's just hey, you don't leave a big daylight deer to go find another one.
nope,
Just hunt him. He will
hunt
be
them.
there. It's
He
going to
will
happen.
eventually.
So
Eventually.
you
Yep.
just have to stay with it, and it's going to happen. So that's all I've got to say, pretty much, man. Other than, of course, please check us out on all of our social medias. We're everywhere: Facebook, YouTube, Instagram, TikTok, all that fun stuff. I'm sure y'all have noticed, especially the ones watching on YouTube. But we've been putting all the video portions of the podcast on YouTube. So if you're listening on, Spotify or Apple or something, and you really want to watch the video part, it's on YouTube as well. So also, there's the link in our description to where you guys can donate whatever you see fit. It really helps us out. And as always, we have a merch store, rootedtelevision.com. You can find it there. We have hoodies like the one I'm wearing. We have some brand new hoodies that I'm excited to get those on the way. I'm a big hoodie guy, man. Hoodies,
Me
sweats,
too.
all that. So we've got everything on there though. Shirts, hats, vests, sweatpants, like I was just saying. Man, other than that, dude, I just hope everyone has a great week hunting, and we will see you next Thursday.
Oh, yeah. Well, with that, John, the redneck is out.
All right. See y'all. And try not to get sick like us.
Yeah.
Goodbye.